to today's webinar. American Airlines presents Recovering Together Post-COVID-19. My name is Cara Kurtz, and I am the coordinator of business development at ASTA, and I will be your organizer for today's presentation. We are very happy to welcome today's presenters, from American Airlines. Before we get started, I have a few quick ASTA updates that I would like to share. Have you heard? Our annual ASTA Global Convention is going entirely virtual. We're bringing you an epic virtual event experience that you've never seen before. Be inspired and ready to set big goals for your personal and professional growth. Please join us August 25th through 28th. All ASTA members can save $30 into July 11th using ASTA Live 30 at checkout. Please be prepared to reset your travel business at ASTA Global Live. Reconnect with partners that you know, such as our amazing Platinum level proud partner, American Airlines, who you'll be hearing from today, as well as establish connections with suppliers that you want to know and that you didn't need to know from all across the globe. Please also be sure to help us help you. Visit our ASTA Grassroots portal for more information on how you can tell Congress to act now and save our travel advisors. There have been two main developments that we would love for you to contact your local Congress about. Congress currently is in the early stage of putting together a big coronavirus relief package, which is set to be finalized in early August. And we're also asking Congress to incorporate the Restart Act. Now that you've heard our amazing ASTA updates, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of housekeeping information on our GoToWebinar system. You'll be able to communicate with me via our GoToWebinar pane. Near the bottom of the pane, there is an area that says questions. You can send me any technical issues via this questions pane, and I will try to answer them via the same pane to the best of my ability. Please note all of our audience members are muted. We certainly want to hear from you all, but with so many people on today's call, background noise would prove to be prohibitive, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear American Airlines' amazing presentation. Remember, one of today's lucky webinar attendees is eligible to win an amazing grand prize of a 2-ticket round trip to Hawaii. We will announce this winner live after our Q&A session. Please also remember that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for your on-demand viewing at asta.org by early next week. Now, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome our first speaker today, Mr. Louis Dejoux.
Thank you so much, Cara, and good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from my home. I hear that we have more than 500 travel advisors on the line, and I have to admit, I've never had so many guests in my apartment before, so I hope my neighbors won't mind. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Louis Dejoux, and I've got the great privilege of leading our leisure and specialty channel teams here at American Airlines. One of the most exciting part of my job is to sit on ASTA's proud partner committee. And when I look back at the last 12 months, two of my favorite experiences were spent with ASTA members, with many of you in Washington, D.C. earlier this year for the Legislative Day, and also with you and the exciting crew of Bob Duglin and his team in Israel as part of the iconic Destination Expo we did in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv last year. That was really fantastic. I'd like to thank Zen Kirby and the entire ASTA team for their outstanding industry leadership. And I'd like to thank each of you, travel advisors, for everything you do to make our wonderful industry possible. We're very grateful at American Airlines for your outstanding work, inspiring millions of people to travel more and enjoy our beautiful world. So why are we having this webinar today? Well, a very simple reason. As very important partners, we want to make sure that you are empowered with the very latest information to help us with our joint business recovery at this very challenging time. But we also want you to have a chance to experience the best of American Airlines. And when I think about our product as an airline, there's no better experiences than flying to Hawaii in the comfort of a beautiful premium product. You can see here on the left our beautiful first-class flagship product that we fly to Hawaii from DFW and Chicago. And so we'd love for you to experience that product with a loved one. And so at the end of the webinar, we'll be picking up a lucky winner for really this an iconic experience on American Airlines. Here's a quick look at our schedule for today's webinar. First, my esteemed colleague, Preston Peterson, will be presenting on what we call our commitment to clean. And so we'll be going through a lot of details on your customers' curb-to-curb experience when they travel with American Airlines. And hopefully that will give you the confidence to get more customers back on the travel path. Then I'll be back to share with you some detailed information on where we see demand picking up. I'll also share our latest market research on consumer confidence and a quick update on our network. Once again, tools to help you get more people to travel again. Then my friend, Megan Davis from our marketing team will be sharing our latest promotion for you and your travelers. We've got some pretty exciting stuff that can really entice more people to go back on the traveling road. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session. Thank you so much for all the questions that you've sent to us. But first, here's a message from not only my big boss, but also my personal role model, Alison Taylor. Many of you will have met her at the previous ASTA convention. She's just wonderful, and she's just been actually recently promoted to Chief Customer Officer of American Airlines. Here's what Alison wanted me to tell you. The most important thing I want to share during this unsettling time is that we're here for you, our leadership, and the entire American Airlines global sales and distribution teams are thinking about how we support your business. If there is anything we can do to support you, please let us know, and I'll show you how. We are incredibly important partners. You are incredibly important partners, and we will be here when you're ready to fly. So more on that later. And now I'd like to introduce you to my esteemed colleague, Preston Peterson, who's going to share a lot of details on our comprehensive plans, what we call our commitment to clean. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Louis. And thank you, everybody, for attending today. And I'm pleased to be able to present to you. And this is a subject that I'm really passionate and interested about since the pandemic has hit. I've actually traveled a fair amount on American Airlines, and I'm really encouraged by the procedures that we have in place to keep not only our customers but our team members safe as well. And I've experienced them firsthand. And so as I walk through some of those details with you, I hope you'll allow me to indulge myself a bit and share with you some of my personal experience that I've had with some of our cleaning procedures. So if we go to the next here. All right. So for over 90 years, American Airlines has built a strong brand around the equity and strong equity around trust and safety. And safety is first and foremost in our industry. That is always the first thing that we talk about because it is most important to our customers, whether that's in normal times or even in the time of a pandemic. And so we're working to build reassurance with our customers and our team members about the importance of cleanliness to that message of safety. And we are very unwavering in that commitment. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes with a lot of different teams to make sure that we take care of our customers and our team members. And we know that when our customers travel with us, they're placing their trust in us, that we have the procedures and the processes in place that will make their journey safe and also enjoyable. And we're committed to doing just that. So it's a really important thing for us to do. So going to the next. So we've all been impacted by the coronavirus in some way, shape, or form, and there's nobody that hasn't across the globe, and that's something that's truly unique about the situation that we're in. And so we have risen to that challenge by implementing a number of new processes and procedures, specifically related to health and safety. And we've also expanded customer flexibility. As many of you may have noticed, we've changed some of the waivers that we apply and also some of the rules around those to be able to provide maximum flexibility to our customers, because it's a nerve-wracking time. You want to know that if you book a trip, you're going to be able to either take that trip or be able to take it in the future if the conditions aren't right for you to travel. And that's an important piece, is that we know all of our customers have varying ranges of confidence and comfortability around traveling, and so we want to make sure we have that flexibility for them. In addition to all of this, we've really sped up some of our technology efforts, and that's one thing that my team specifically works on in the customer experience innovation world, is working on some of the technologies like biometrics and touchless kiosks, so that we can really enhance that journey and make it as safe as possible for those customers who have a lot of concerns around some of the things going on with the pandemic. But we've also announced some exciting updates recently that should bolster even additionally that confidence that our customers have in us. We announced a new travel health advisory panel with infectious disease experts from across the country, but especially from Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And we're working with them specifically to make sure that we can make that travel journey safer. So for example, if we have an idea on something that we might want to do to clean an aircraft, or, you know, when we put up the plexiglass shields at our gates, we consult with those experts to say, what's the right way to go about this? Is this something that's going to be effective? Is it something that will provide comfort to our travelers? And we run those ideas by them and have this close collaboration so that we are implementing things that are both effective and also help our customers feel reassured in this difficult time. We're also the first airline to seek GBAC Star accreditation from the Global Biorisk Advisory Council for all of our mainline aircraft and lounges. As you can imagine, it's a lot of effort to clean airplanes and the lounges. And so we're making sure that we get some of this accreditation to make sure we're going through the right processes. And again, that accreditation should provide additional assurance to our customers that we have the proper procedures in place to respond to biological threats like COVID-19. And that's one of the great things that we're really focused on right now, is not just responding to the current environment, but also looking to the future to be able to be prepared for if this happens again or some type of similar event, that it doesn't take all of this extra effort to ramp back up, and that those procedures are already in place. Additionally, as an extra safety measure, on June 30th, we started asking our customers a health assessment, a few different questions to see if they have any symptoms similar to COVID-19, if they're feeling well enough to travel. And we do this at check-in, and it's something that we've added to provide that extra layer of security and help customers to really think about the last few days and whether or not they're feeling well to travel. And so again, this is an additional step that we're taking to help our customers feel safe. All right, and so if we move on to the next, the safety and well-being of our customers and team members remains the highest priority at a time like this. And so we're working around the clock, and I assure you that it is around the clock based on the various times that I get emails and texts from our various team members. We want to make sure you feel safe from the moment you step on airport property. And so I'm going to walk you through some examples of things that we're doing to make that journey feel safe. One of the biggest things we do is we track our customer sentiment through surveys, and we get their feedback regarding COVID and how we're dealing with it and what they think we could do better and what we're doing well. And we use that data to adjust and to refine the things that we're working on so that we know what's important to you, our customers. Another thing that we're doing is we're really focused on providing the right equipment to our crew members and to passengers in some cases where possible. So for example, we're making sure that as much as possible, we're providing hand sanitizers. If a customer shows up without a mask, we're willing to provide that to them as well. And we also provide masks and other sanitation items to our team members in the airports to make sure that they feel safe as well. It's really important that our team members feel safe, so that they can in turn have less stress about taking care of our customers. So it's been a dual focus for us to take care of both team members and customers, and that's been really, really important to us. So if you look across that whole journey, what's really important and some things that we've really been focused on is, if you think about, for example, the security experience, that's not something that the airlines directly control. That is typically something between TSA and the airports. So what we've done is we have reached out and we've offered to partner with airports and make sure that we're on the same page with TSA, so that all parties involved in your day of travel experience are on the same page as far as making sure that our customers feel safe. One experience that I'll relate with you is the first time I traveled was in mid-May. There were still about 10 passengers per flight, which is very different than today. I traveled with my family, 4 kids and my wife, and we left out of DFW. What I was so impressed by was, from the moment we walked into the airport, we walked up to the ticket counter to check bags, and all of the procedures were in place that you hear about. So we were making sure that we were socially distanced from other customers. We had set up some stanchions in front of the ticket counter so that customers, when the bags are checked and tagged, we weren't directly interacting with agents. We would set the bags there and we would step back, and then the agents would come to that stanchion and pull the bags back to them. And even when we got to security, they had plexiglass installed. And when we handed our IDs to them, they had their gloves on, and they were making sure that we were staying as far apart as possible. And then going through, at the time, the lounges weren't open. But then in the gate and boarding area, a lot of announcements around making sure to maintain 6 feet of distance as we queue up to board, talking about in the jet bridges. As you all know, that's an area where a lot of times customers back up, and reminding customers, please keep that distance between you and other customers. And it was an experience that, frankly, I had prepared my children, okay, it's going to be very different today. It might feel very weird. And actually they said, other than everybody wearing masks, it didn't feel that different, because we had prepared our customers in advance, and that was really important. In addition to that, we have also recently started doing more announcements on board about social distancing and making sure that we are wearing masks on the flight. And one that I started to see a few more times in recent flights is when we deplane the aircraft, making sure that we do it one row at a time. And I'll be honest, when I first heard that, I thought, oh, passengers always jump up and they're quick to want to get off that plane. Nobody's going to listen. I've been so impressed with our customers as we have asked them to wait and deplane row by row and stay seated. Customers have been fantastic at doing that and waiting till their row is ready to go. And it doesn't slow the deplaning process. It's just a little more orderly, and it keeps people a bit more isolated, as much as we can do in an aircraft. So those are some of the highlights that I've seen as I've traveled that are really important. And there's some things you see out in the media, some potentially scary stories or whatever, but I'll tell you what, customers in general seem to feel very calm, and they're doing their part to take care of themselves. And you also see our crew members, especially our flight attendants, really making sure that our customers feel comfortable in talking with them and asking questions and making the right announcements. So it's been a really good process on that day of travel experience. So it's been something very comforting for me. So what I'll do is I'll jump into a couple more details now on the next slide about some specific procedures. So we're looking, again, there was some debate, we all know, about face coverings, and to make it clear, we now require our team members to wear face coverings at all times, whether or not they're able to social distance. Anytime they're in a customer-facing area, our team members are required to wear face masks. And if local regulations require it, they also do temperature checks in those airports, and it's something that we have started to do as well. Another important thing is creating space, and so we do that in our check-in and security areas by using stanchions. In some cases, we will adjust kiosks so that they aren't in use, so that we can spread our customers out a little bit more in the kiosks. We've also added hand sanitizing stations where possible. As many of you know, it's been difficult to get a hold of hand sanitizer. That has improved as of late. But we are working to do our best to provide hand sanitizer pre-security as much as we can in those locations. And we've also really stepped up our cleaning procedures on the kiosks, the ticket counters, the passenger service counters, and the baggage service offices. So those areas are frequently disinfected with disinfecting wipes and sprays, and really making sure we keep those areas clean. We've also installed the plexiglass shields in some locations. And those shields come down and they provide a direct, a shield for our customers and team members so that we can protect them when we do have to have those closer interactions. And that's something that you will also see in many TSA, if not all TSA locations. And when we've started to see those in many other places, restaurants and retail stores as well. So that's something that is becoming much more commonplace. And then lastly, at the ticket counters, we've started to alternate the locations where our team members work. So in previous times, you would have two team members side by side, oftentimes within a foot or two of each other. And where possible, and that's pretty much across the network, we are having our team members be spaced out so that they aren't next to each other, but also so that customers who might be in big groups like my family of 6 aren't right there crowding next to each other. So that's really important as well, that we provide some of that spacing to our customers. So moving on to the next, another important aspect that a lot of people want to know about, and rightly so, is the enhanced cleaning on the plane. And so we're very committed to providing that safe travel experience on the plane. And we've added additional cleaning procedures and new protocols at every step. So one interesting detail on this is we've added electrostatic spraying, and this is where we use an EPA-approved hospital-grade disinfectant that kills 99.9% of viruses, and it lasts up to 7 days. That's the great thing about this, is it attaches to surfaces and can disinfect for 7 days, so that it doesn't have to be done every flight, which would be very time-consuming to do. We've also talked a lot about air filtration. A lot of customers are worried about the air filtration on the aircraft, but actually HEPA filters are installed on all mainline aircraft and most regional jets. And so all of the cabin air is refreshed every 2 to 4 minutes. And so that's really important to know, is that the aircraft air is very clean, and it comes through those HEPA filters, and something that not a lot of people have known previous to COVID. And there's a lot of areas that are high touch. So the first thing that comes to mind for everybody, tray tables and armrests. And another thing that you may not think as much about, but seatbelt buckles, window shades, the seat back screens on some of the aircraft, even the overhead bin handles and the air nozzles that you'll touch. So we're making sure to disinfect all those high touch surfaces as frequently as possible. In fact, after every flight, if possible, we are working to disinfect those surfaces. And then on some of the flights that I've been on, we've even received a little individual use or single use hand sanitizer packets, which has been really nice, just to be able to crack those open real quick and use those on those flights. I personally carry a 12-ounce bottle of sanitizer with me, as allowed by TSA now, but we do provide wipes or gels where possible on our flights. And so that in-flight experience, even if you do happen to sit next to another customer, we are doing as much as we can to provide that safety and security on that in-flight experience. Something else we do is, if you've been on a flight recently, you'll notice that instead of coming around doing a beverage service or a meal service, we hand out paper bags that have water and snacks in them and that hand sanitizer. So that really minimizes the interaction of a flight attendant going up and down the aisle. So that's been a really big focus of ours, is that in-flight experience. And then moving on, another thing that's near and dear to my heart, because my team is directly involved in this, is we have recently introduced what we call touchless kiosks. So with American Airlines, you can prepay your bags online, or if you have free bags, you can also select those online. And what you do is you would go through that normal process when you check in. You prepay or select the amount of bags that you have, and then you would download your digital boarding pass. When you arrive at the airport, all you need to do is walk up to a kiosk, and we have barcode scanners near the bottom of the screen, and you would scan your boarding pass, and bag tags will automatically print out. It'll be the exact number that you selected in the prepaid process, so that you never have to touch that kiosk screen if you want. And one question we get from customers is, well, what about seat assignments and upgrades and other things that I want to select? The great news about that is we encourage customers to download the American Airlines app, and they can choose their seats and other products they want in the app during check-in. And so you don't have to touch the kiosk at all. That is something that we are piloting right now in DFW. We will be expanding that to all of our hubs within the next week, and then it will go system-wide. We expect by about July 20th is when we anticipate having that in place. So we've developed that very rapidly, and we're getting out there quickly, but there's more to come after that. So that's just step one. We'll look at other ways that customers can interact with the kiosks without having to touch the screens, possibly by having their mobile phone be a mirror image of that kiosk experience. So it's very important for us to get this out there because customers have told us a lot about this experience of not wanting to touch a kiosk. And so that is something that we have recently rolled out. So moving on, again, so we're also doing work on other technologies, right? And so as I mentioned, we have the required face coverings, the cleaning procedures, but we've also added that flexibility that I talked about earlier. So if a flight is looking pretty full, what we call a load factor, we will send a notification to the customers to let them know your flight is filling up. If you would like to switch to another flight that we see has a little bit more room on it, you're able to do that for no charge. And that's an email that customers would get for select flights that are a little bit more full. And then we are also allowing customers on flights that are looking pretty full to be able to bid and move to another flight, and they would be able to even get a travel voucher from that. So if a flight is already booked to capacity or maybe a little bit over, we're giving customers the option before they even get to the airport to say, you know what, I'm willing to take another flight, and in exchange for that, if that flight's full, American Airlines is willing to provide a voucher for future travel for that. And this is something that our customers have really liked. We get a lot of interested customers in this when we provide this option. And this is just another way that we're working to alleviate some of that demand that we see on our flights. And another thing is we're also making sure that our customers intend to take the flights. So we are sending a notification to our customers to say, are you still planning to take this flight? If not, please let us know. And that way we have a better idea of which customers are going to show up. As you can imagine, in a situation like this, there are a lot of customers who maybe bought a ticket 3 or 4 months ago who just say, no, I'm not going to travel, and they don't just show up. So we're trying to understand a little bit better which customers are showing up and which aren't, and then providing future options for those customers. And so those are some of the technologies that we have been developing to help alleviate some of that day of travel nervousness that our customers may feel about full flights, and trying to provide as many options as possible. So another thing that we're working on as it relates to this is that we are making sure to communicate as best we can. And I'll tell you, this is one of the challenges. Our team directly handles a lot of day of travel notifications, and it's really difficult because some customers like text messages, some like the push notifications in the app or an email. And so we're really making sure to expand our notifications breadth on this. So we're sending notifications to our customers to let them know that face coverings are required. You must have a face covering on our flights. We're making those announcements at the gate. We're talking to customers at the ticket counter. You'll hear a lot of announcements on board as well about staying safe, as I mentioned earlier. So it's really important as we go through this process that we communicate with our customers as best as we can, and trying to do it in the channels that our customers use. So sending the notifications through various methods is really, really important. And then there are cases where we have to help customers understand why masks are required or why social distancing is required. And so we will have those one-on-one conversations with customers as well, because there are cases where a customer can't wear a mask. There might be a physical limitation that they have that prohibits them from doing so. We have those conversations on the side one-on-one and make sure we understand the situation with them. We also have little children shouldn't wear masks under, I think it's the age of 2. So they're also exempted. So it's a little bit difficult because other customers want to feel that assurance that customers are wearing masks. So if they see that a customer isn't wearing a mask, it might make them a little bit unsettled. So we try to let people know that there are circumstances when a customer can't wear a mask. And that is important for all of us to understand. So I hope that gives you a good overview of what we're working on, the technologies, the communications, that airport experience. And I can tell you that, this coming Saturday, I will take my 10th flight since mid-May, and I have felt safe every step of the way. Sure, I take my own precautions. I wear a mask. I bring hand sanitizer. All of that is very important, and we will continue to communicate with our customers and find ways to improve in this process so that people can get back to traveling, seeing family, visiting friends, going on vacation, going to those business meetings, and we're really focused on that. And so with that, I'll kick it back over to Louis, and a little bit later I'll be back to answer some questions.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Preston, for this very comprehensive update on our plans. And one additional tip for you guys, we have some excellent videos on our YouTube channel that details every step we're taking, and you can use this to share with your customers that may be nervous these are very good resources for you to help get people back on planes and going to vacations. Now, I'd like to get into some detailed information on what we're doing on the commercial side. And let me start with a simple statement. We really value our relationship with the ASTA travel advisors. And I know that many of you guys are non-ARC agencies. And so a big part of my job actually is to make sure that you guys have access to extremely competitive products and price points. And you can access these products and price points through different ways. Consolidators, very active host agencies, tour operators get special fares, cruise lines get very, very favorable fares as well, and one-way tickets as well, and other providers. And so, there may be 50 ways to leave your lover, but there's even more ways to access American Airlines content as an ASTA travel advisor. And I really encourage you to look for fantastic deals that we make available to these partners. And so if we can do better, I'd love to hear from you. I will be at ASTA Global Live later in August. And so feel free to get in touch with me at ASTA Global Live, or you can also find me on LinkedIn and message me. Any feedback is really welcome. So now we know that flexibility, right, is critical at this point. As many customers we know may be reluctant to make a firm booking in today's environment. And that's why I'm so proud that we're extending our offer to waive change fees on existing and new bookings for summer travel all the way to the end of September. And that includes basic economy tickets as well as Advantage Award tickets. And that's a very big investment we're making to really give you that peace of mind. A few things to keep in mind. Of course, if the new ticket is more expensive, you may have to pay a difference in fare. But the good news is you're allowed to change your origin and destination. So if your customers wanted to go to Hawaii and now they want to go to Cancun, that's possible. And the beauty of this offer as well is customers can rebook all the way to the end of December 31st, 2021. So it's a lot of flexibility that we're giving to your customers. There's a lot of details. And so the best place to go is actually saleslink.aa.com. This is our dedicated travel agency page with a wealth of resources that you can access. Now, we also know that consumer confidence is key to the recovery of our dear industry, right? Customer confidence. And so every week we survey our frequent flyers, members of our Advantage program. And I understand that's a busy chart. I call it the 3 shades of green, not to be confused with something else. And so I want you to focus on the 3 shades of green. For each of the activities that are listed on the left-hand side, you've got a dark green, which means that customers are ready to do that activity now. Lighter green means that they will be ready in 1 to 4 weeks. And the other green is show that they will be ready within 8 weeks. So you can see that returning to work, staying at a hotel, and taking a domestic flight, the overwhelming majority of our customers will be ready to do that within the next 8 weeks. And that's very encouraging. And as a matter of fact, we're seeing very heavy loads on our network as well. Now you can see that international flights, public transport, and cruise, we're still not there. And we're going to be monitoring this very, very carefully. From a personal point of view, I'm going to look very carefully at the cruise lines. I know it's such an important part of the travel industry for you guys as well, so important. And we're the largest airline in Miami. And I like to think of American Airlines as a cruise line's favorite airline. And I simply cannot wait to see happy customers disembark in Miami, get on a cab and board the ship, maybe get a cup of champagne looking at the beautiful Miami harbor. I simply cannot wait for sailing to come back again. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about our domestic network. As you know, connecting America, north and south, east and west, is really one of the things that American Airlines does best. And as you can see from the charts, we are flying more seats and more departures in June and July than our network competitors. Why is that important? Well, it's important because we're able to keep vital connections possible. As a matter of fact, in June, we were the only airline to have same-day connections on over 7,000 markets across the systems. And so that's really been a lifeline for the traveling public. And we're so proud of the work we're doing to keep America moving at this incredibly challenging time. And in July, we are restoring 55% of our domestic seat capacity. And that really demonstrates our commitment to the overall travel industry. Flights are so important to get to that hotel, get to that resort, get to that cruise. And so I'm very proud that we're playing that part to keep America flying. Speaking of the domestic market, we are seeing a few areas that are really bucking the trend and could be some good revenue opportunities for you. And one of the trends we're seeing are all of the airports that serve a wonderful national park system. So we've put together this simple table, which I will be sharing on my LinkedIn later on. And that table can help you sell the national parks with information on reopening date, airport access, and drive time. And you can see there's a lot of parks to choose from. And I'm personally looking forward to getting on my hiking gear and exploring the great American wilderness this summer. I'm originally from France, and living in America is such a treat with so much natural beauty. And I know that many of our tour operator partners have shifted their focus on national parks too, which creates some really good revenue opportunities for travel advisors and some great experiences for traveling public. So if you've got some tour operator credits, look for potential opportunities to use these credits and rebook customers to national parks. Now, one of the things that American Airlines does really well as well is what I call short-haul leisure, right? Getting you access to tropical destinations within a few hours of flying. And so, as you can see from the map, American Airlines is offering a very, very comprehensive network. This is our July schedule. You can see that we're flying to a lot of very popular leisure destinations. And some of them are open to Americans with very limited restrictions. And we're working very closely with our partners at the tourism boards and airports in the regions to ensure our mutual customers' safety and well-being is well looked after. But here's the biggest question I get, and you get, and I get the question for myself as well. Am I allowed to fly? Where can I go? And so you may already be aware of that, but I wanted to share with you the next slide, which is the IATAtravelcenter.com. It's powered by the good old thematic technology, but this is presented on a very visual way. It's a great resource to help navigate your travelers through the confusion of travel restrictions. This comprehensive map is updated daily and contains the latest travel requirements by country. It's color-coded, so if it's white, it's less restrictive. If it's blue, it's more restrictive. And you can actually click very easily through each country to compare. And you've got the address here. It's IATA Travel Center, centers of British way, .com. Now, I know that some of you, I know one of you guys on the call, Bob Duglin, are aviation geek. I'm actually an aviation geek, and I absolutely adored our 757 and 767 fleet. Love that iconic fleet of American Airlines. However, when it comes to comfort, nothing comes close to new planes. And so as a result of this crisis, we actually retired our entire 757 and 767 lineup. And so what that means is we now have the youngest and best equipped wide-body fleet amongst all carriers. And one of the great things we have is all of our long-haul wide-body planes do have this premium economy cabin you can see here. This is a pre-COVID picture. Apologies, no masks here. It's an archive picture. But what I love about premium economy is it's really good business sense for you guys. There's two things that I've heard from travel advisors, cruise lines, and tour operators about customers who book premium economy. Number one, customers who book premium economy have got a much higher satisfaction, not just with their flight, but with the overall vacation experience. But the second bit, which was counterintuitive to me, is that the repeat purchase rate of customers who book premium economy is actually higher than those who traveled in main cabin. So it's really a win-win for you guys. You got a higher vacation price, but you got higher repeat purchase. And I've been working with the big 4 cruise lines on premium economy in the last 2 years, and they really love it so much because people, when they fly premium economy, they cruise more often. So it's an interesting one. And then, of course, from a truly premium product, our business class, we now have a very consistent product with fully flat, of course, as you would expect, but also all aisle access. So everyone's got an aisle seat, and that's really, really important. And I hope you guys can experience that product on your flights to Hawaii if you're the lucky winners. I don't know about you, but one of the first thing I like to do when I start a vacation is to head to the lounge and grab a cocktail or maybe a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. And so I'm very happy to report that we reopened select Admirals clubs in 10 US cities. And our staff in the premium service department have been working very hard to make improvements to the clubs and products offerings that really reinforce that clean commitment that Preston talked about. So all the things that we're doing on board at the airport, they apply to the Admirals Club. So you'll see a very different experience, but one that really, really reassure customers. And you can see on the next slides, a selection of clubs that reopen on June 22nd. Our key hubs are, of course, covered. Finally, I'd like to go over some of American Airlines' philanthropic efforts during COVID. And just in the interest of time, I'm just going to highlight some of the things that really impressed me. The picture on the right side, top right side, the mask factory, very early in the crisis, our colleagues at the airport decided to turn their Admirals Club into a mask factories. And I've been literally sewing thousands of masks. And then another thing we did with our partnership with Hyatt is that we surprised 4,000 workers that are associated with the New York Helmhurst Hospital system with a 3-day vacation at a Hyatt property and free flights on American Airlines. And that was really a way of saying thank you to these heroes. We also done more than 6,000 care packages to members of the U.S. National Guard, Army, and Navy, and that's really a great way to show our huge appreciation for these heroes. So now, with that, I'd like to turn over to Megan Davis, our manager of performance marketing, to share a quick promotion that we've got in the marketplace.
Thanks, Louis. So as Louis mentioned, my name is Megan Davis, and I lead our performance marketing and media team here at American. Just a little bit on what that actually means. So I work very closely to understand what consumers, where they want to go, where they want to travel. As Louis was touching on earlier, we see national parks, we've seen Mexico, we've seen Caribbean, and then working very closely with our internal teams like network planning to understand which routes are open, which destinations we're launching, working with revenue management to understand the low fares that we have to give consumers, bundling it all up, putting a little bit of advertising and some media behind it to make sure that consumers really get an opportunity to take advantage of some of these great low fares, some of these bonus mile offers, and other great opportunities to help get them where they want to go. So diving a little bit into this slide, as part of all of that work that we've been doing, that we've been looking into this consumer insights on COVID, as well as working with our revenue management team to understand, what we can really offer consumers at this time. So as part of that, we rolled out the Summer of Deals promotion on June 1st, and we've been advertising and getting out the message that we've had really great low fares this summer. So we've been working on that and running it in through our media on some U.S. domestic fares, really with the intent to help consumers reconnect with their loved ones. Lots of, missed graduations, postponed honeymoons, or just delayed family vacations. So we've really been working hard to make sure that we can offer as much as we can to help everyone reconnect once they can again. So we know that travelers are looking to do that. And as Preston touched on earlier, we're making sure that we're doing that in a very safe way. But then on the other side, from a revenue perspective, we're also making sure that we're doing it in a very cost-efficient way. So a couple of the offers that actually launched on July 1st that are currently in market is a basic economy one-way fares to multiple U.S. destinations starting at $49, which is amazing. And then we also have some round trip fares to the Caribbean starting at $249, and then round trip fares to Mexico starting at $299. And these offers will go through July 22nd. And then we will have a whole new round of offers that will launch on July 23rd to new destinations, new price points, making sure that it's low and it's enticing to consumers. And that will continue on until the end of August. In addition to the low fares that we have running, our AA Vacations team also has some great offers in the market. And so they're celebrating summer, so you can save when you book a flight and your hotel together. You earn bonus miles through July 22nd. And then from July 23rd through August 5th, they will have $250 off $2,000 travel packages. So lots of great offers for consumers to take advantage of, and we'll have even more that will continue for the rest of the summer. And as a reminder, a final point, we are continuing to waive change fees for travel through the end of September. And so that's a really great point for consumers that, aren't sure what next week or 2 weeks or even a month from now will look like. It really gives them peace of mind to know that our planes are safe, they're clean, the price is phenomenal, and they still have the flexibility that Louis was speaking to earlier to ensure that they really are, signing up for something that they know is the best offer that they can have on travel right now. So with that, I think that's everything that I had on my end. So I will kick it back to you, Louis.
Thank you so much, Megan. It was a pleasure to work with you. That's about it from our end. I just wanted to say a few words before we go to Q&A. AA.com really is a fantastic tool for you. It has got a lot of resources that you can share with your customers on really everything that we talked about today. Our YouTube channel as well, and then on newsroom at news.aa.com/coronavirus. Last but not least, I am so grateful for the fantastic work that the ASTA team is doing to prepare a fantastic global live convention at the end of August. I'll be there, my team will be there, and I really want to make sure that you give us feedback and that we connect to talk about business recovery together. So that's about it. Kara, I think we're back to you.
Thank you so much, Louis and team, for such an amazing presentation. We're going to go ahead and hop right into Q&A. With over 600 attendees on today's webinar, we do have an excess amount of questions. So I want to be sure that everyone knows that if their question does not get answered, I will be connecting our amazing American Airlines team with all of our questions that we had today. It's certainly going to be a lot for them to sort through, but don't worry, team, I will include states so we can sort them out by VDM. So with that said, everyone, this webinar was recorded. If you know anybody that this would be beneficial for, or if you have anything that we may have already touched on in the webinar and you just missed it, please be sure to watch this webinar. It will be on asta.org by the end of the week. Now, our first question here, it looks like this is going to be a question for you, Preston. Are you adjusting your seating policy or load capacity?
So as some of you, if you've traveled recently, you may have noted that our flights are starting to get more full, especially as of July 1st. So there's a few things that we're doing, and I mentioned that communication is so important, right? And so one thing that we're doing, like I said, is we're sending notifications to customers to let them know when a flight is getting more full and providing them the flexibility to move to another flight if they would like. Megan also brought up the adjusted change policy, that through September 30th, you can adjust your flights if you desire with no change fees to any other date that you would like within the next year. So that's really important to be able to do that as well. Another thing that we do is once everybody is seated on the aircraft, if there are open seats and a customer would feel more comfortable moving to an open seat, we will allow them to do that if they talk to a flight attendant. That is within the bounds of our weight and balance restrictions that we do have sometimes on our smaller aircraft. But those are some of the steps we're taking to provide some of that flexibility to our customers on flights that are a bit more full.
Thank you so much, Preston. We certainly had a lot of questions come in regarding that, so that should go ahead and knock a few questions off of our list. Louis, it looks like our next question is going to be for you. Do you have any updates on your joint business plans with Alaska?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's an exciting topic. Actually, earlier this year, we announced what we call the West Coast International Alliance with Alaska Airlines. And it's really about increasing our international reach and really connectivity for customers. It includes American Airlines leveraging the extensive domestic network that Alaska has in Seattle to feed some new international flights. And so I can confirm that we will be launching a flight from Seattle to Bangalore, India, and Heathrow next year. And that's really exciting. We also hope to move our Los Angeles to Shanghai service from Seattle to Shanghai, subject to government approval. And what's great is we intend to have Alaska being a full member of the One World Alliance in 2021. So the One World Alliance will have two US partners, American Airlines and Alaska. And right now, for those of you who may have customers who are members of the Alaska Mileage Plan program, they can earn and burn miles on American Airlines today. So that's another great value that you can provide to your Alaska members. They can fly American Airlines to Cancun, to Hawaii, to Europe, and still earn the miles. So it's a great win-win for everyone.
Thank you so much, Louis. Preston, looks like we have a good bit of questions coming your way, so please prepare yourself. Looks like our next question is going to be, how can flyers work with mask requirements if they currently have breathing situations that make wearing a mask difficult for them?
Yeah, so we get this question, and we want to make it very clear that if a customer has a physical or religious need that prohibits them from wearing a mask, and that is something we will discuss with that customer and treat as a one-off situation. So certainly there are exceptions to that rule. And I would also ask, on behalf of the whole industry, if you see somebody not wearing a mask, please don't assume that they're just flaunting the rules. There are cases where a customer can't wear masks, and so a little bit of grace to our fellow customers is also important. So it's not a strict 100% policy. We do take into account certain exceptions.
Thank you very much, Preston. Louis, we are coming back to you. What is American Airlines' outlook for international long-haul demand?
Long-haul demand, international long-haul demand. Yeah, sure. Well, it is true, as you saw from the market research earlier, there's still a lot of customers who are not ready to fly long-haul. And so in response to this downturn in international travel, we expect next year's capacity to be down about 25% versus 2019. And so as a result, we announced earlier, last week actually, that we'll discontinue several routes that we expect will see lower demand. But as we reset our international network, what's clear is our hubs will continue to be very strong. So Dallas, Fort Worth will now be our primary Trans-Pacific hub. You'll be able to access many Asian destinations from DFW. Miami, of course, often described as a jewel in our crown. It will continue to be the main hub for flights to the Caribbean and Latin America. Once government restrictions on transatlantic flights subside, Philadelphia will continue to be American primary hub for service to Europe. I get fantastic feedback from customers on the ease of going to Europe via Philadelphia. People like to transit at the US hub, and Philadelphia has got this great design that make a lot of people happy. So Philadelphia is very much key to our transatlantic strategy going forward.
Thank you very much for that insight, Louis. Preston, does American Airlines have a process to isolate passengers if they become unwell during a flight?
Yes, so we consulted with some medical professionals to come up with a very detailed process for our crew members to follow in case a customer comes ill on the flight, and that's true in normal times as well. Again, safety is first and foremost in this industry and with Americans, so we do have those detailed processes in place both before and in this current pandemic to make sure we can treat those customers who fall ill. And it doesn't just stop there. When that aircraft arrives at the airport on the ground, we also make sure that we have the disinfecting procedures in place to go ahead and take care of that aircraft and make sure that it's fully sanitized. for the next flight. And so in many cases, that plane will not continue on to its next scheduled destination, but will be cleaned thoroughly to make sure that we get it disinfected.
Thank you, Preston. It looks like we have a lot of questions coming in regarding front or back to front boarding. So what type of boarding do you guys currently utilize in response to COVID-19 to assist with social distancing and safety for travelers? And have you considered using this back to front boarding?
Yeah, so yes, the answer to the last question is yes, we have considered it. The challenge that we see with it are two things. Number one, back to front, if everybody in the back of the aircraft is boarding at the same time, then it puts a lot of people in the same area of the aircraft at the same time, standing up, physically exerting themselves, breathing heavily to put bags in overhead bins and walking down jet bridges. And the other challenge is that Louis mentioned this, we have our big connecting hub. So not all of our customers are in the boarding area right when a flight starts to board. They're coming from other flights. They might be coming from security or our nice lounges. So the challenge is that if everybody is not in the boarding lounge together, then it's going to end up being random anyway. So we've kept our current boarding procedures, which is random, so it gets customers spaced out in the cabin. But again, I want to put the focus on the communication. We've added the announcements. We're adding signage. In some cases, you'll see stickers on jet bridge floors to keep customers physically distant from each other. And we've really stepped up the announcements that you'll see on board the aircraft to remind customers of the need to be cautious of being close to other customers, as well as the deplaning process. We often think about boarding, but the deplaning process is also something we've taken a look at to make sure that we provide as much safety and assurance as possible in that process. So it's something we think a lot about, and we continue to look at ways that we can make it even better.
Thank you very much, Preston. Our next question is something that you did touch on during your presentation, but what, if any, new measures should we expect during the check-in and bag check process?
Yes, we've mentioned this. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, will the new measures change or encourage new procedures to support social distancing and the contactless experience?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we now require that all of our team members and customers wear masks, both in the airport and in flight. And we're also starting to see a lot of airports mandate it and say that they have to wear masks. So that's the first step. And like I said, we're looking at technology and ways that we can provide that contactless experience. And that's not just limited to airline or airport, airline contacts. We're also, we're talking with TSA to figure out how do we come up with a better process for that. Looking at that for the lounges. So that's a really important part of it as well. And then I mentioned this, but cleaning the high contact touch points. So your kiosks in your lounges, some of those touch points we have, the boarding areas. One thing that, that's good is we have customers scanning their own boarding passes now. So you don't hand a paper boarding pass to a gate agent. You just scan your own boarding pass right there at the gate, which has helped a lot. That's another interaction that we don't need to have. So that's been really important as well. And another thing that we've done also is we've added more stanchions. Sometimes stanchions aren't the best, but in these cases, it really helps us have that physical reminder of keeping our distance and keeping our space. And that's at ticket counters, at the gates, in different parts of the airport. And another thing is we've temporarily suspended being able to check pets for our customers. That's in-cabin pets and emotional support animals are still allowed, but we don't check pets below the cargo hold temporarily for the time being. So those are just a few of the things that we're doing to try to keep some of that physical distancing in place.
Thank you so much, Preston. We still do have a good amount of questions here to go through, but I am going to go ahead and send them over to your team to connect with all of our attendees post-webinar. Again, please remember that this webinar was recorded, so a lot of this information you can find in this webinar, which will be posted on asta.org in our video resource library. Now, without further ado, I think it is time to jump into the very anticipated prize giveaway. If I could get a drum roll, please. We have 2 premium round trip tickets to Hawaii. that will be won by a Miss Lori Smith from Explore GCI. Miss Lori, congratulations. Everybody was entered in today's prize drawing. In order to win, you did have to be on through our live Q&A. So Miss Lori, thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to give a special thanks to our amazing presenters at American Airlines, Mr. Louis DeGille, of course, Mr. Preston Peterson. Preston, I am sorry that I had to pick on you for questions. And last but not least, Megan Davis. You all three did absolutely amazing, and I can see by all of the engagement from our advisors that they thoroughly enjoyed your presentation as much as I did. This will conclude our webinar for today. No, thank you. And I hope that everyone has an absolutely wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.